This video is brought to you by Restream. Check out our Restream playlist to learn how Restream can help you with your live streaming needs, or click the link in the video description below. This is the settings walkthrough of the Insta360 GO2. As we do with all our gadgets on this channel, I will walk you through how to use this device without needing the app. First of all, the obvious thing is we do have two buttons in our charging case which allow us to control the device. We have our record button and we have our action button, which we can use to select settings or enter mode. Right now we need to press the action button to connect to our camera, and as soon as it's connected we can use the case to dial in our modes or go to the settings to change settings on the camera we would usually have to do on the app. But before we go into the settings, here's something which is good to know. So in case we disconnect the camera from our case, we have to press this button again so we can connect to the camera. So let's do this. Let's again connect to the camera. And now we're connected again. So in case you're having your camera out of your case, you have to press the action button one more time before you can use the charging case to dial in your settings. Speaking of buttons, obviously the record button would start the recording, but also the Insta button on the camera itself does the same thing. So currently we are dialed into video mode, and if I press this button, we will start the recording as now displayed on our charging case. It goes without saying that we don't need the charging case to run the camera. Right now the camera is recording a video, but if I press the button again, the recording will stop. And as soon as I press the button one more time, the next recording will start. We only need to use the charging case or the app if we want to change settings or change the mode in which the camera currently is. So let's stop this recording, open the charging case one more time, get the camera back to the charging case, and let's take a look at what we can do with the charging case. As I said before, the action button can be used to change modes or dial in settings. So if we press the action button once and we're connected already, we will see what mode we currently selected. So currently we are in video mode, and so if we want to change modes, we have to use the action button to cycle through this menu until we are at the mode which we want to use, for example HDR video. And if we are at the mode we want to use, we just don't press any button anymore, and after about 2 seconds we will enter the mode. Alright, this is mode selection, so now let's go into the settings of the camera. For that we press 2 more times and go over to the settings mode. Alright, we are in the settings, so let's go through this first level of settings. The first entry we have will be wind reduction. If we want to enable it or disable it, we simply press the record button and have it now set to no wind reduction. If you want to find out how well the wind reduction is actually doing, click the link which is right now in the info card, because we uploaded some sample footage of the camera which also included some windy scenes. Alright, let's press it one more time. Next up we have the anti-flicker mode, which is currently set to auto. Next to that is the time it takes for the camera to go into standby mode, which is currently set to 2 minutes. We can change that by cycling through different values by hitting the record button. Next up there's the video codec format, which we cannot change because this camera only records in H.264, which in very simple terms means MP4 videos. Next we can change the bitrate from high bitrate to standard bitrate. The bitrate defines how big a recording is and therefore how good the quality within the recording is. Again, if you want to check out sample footage, it's up there in the info card. So let's go back to high bitrate. Next up we have the light, which we can turn off or on. Right now the light is enabled. Let's disable it and it's off. I like to have the indicator if the camera actually works without having to check the charging case or the app, so I'm leaving this to on. Next up there is the language selection and the wireless connection. We could set the wireless connection to be on all the time, but for now we leave it to auto. What this does is it only connects to wireless when we're actually using the app. Alright, next up there's the format. So in case you have anything on your camera which you want to delete, or you want to just clean and empty your SD card which is built in and cannot be removed, here is the setting to actually format. So if we go into here, we have to either approve with pressing the record button one more time or decline with pressing the action button. So let's format. Next up, there would be the reset. This reset resets the camera to its base settings. And lastly, we have the about section, which tells us about the serial number or firmware version. All right. To go back, we have to cycle to the bottom and press done. Lastly, there is the done button for the settings menu, which would allow us to go back to the mode selection. But we're not yet done with the settings. So let's go back to the settings and change to the second page of settings by simply pressing the record button one more time. We're now in the second page of the settings, which are applied to video mode, which means if we cycle through this, we can change the aspect ratio from 16:9, which would be standard widescreen video, up to 9:16, which would be vertical video. Let's go down here, which is the resolution of the camera. We can change that. 1440p is the maximum resolution of the camera, but we can change that using the record button and go down to full HD. Also, we can change the frames per second between 50 and 30. And I think it's a little bit odd because one setting is NTSC and the other setting is PAL. But yeah, this is how they choose to do it. So yeah, if you want to have the maximum amount of frames for this camera, this would be 50. All right, next up we have the field of view settings, and it's currently set to ultra wide, but we can change that to linear and narrow if we go through those settings. This basically means the image will be cropped in a little bit more, so it will be less of a fisheye, which it is at ultra wide. Again, if you want to see test footage, link to that up there in the info card. The next setting is the color setting, which is currently set to vivid, but we can also change it to standard or even flat or log in this case. I myself use the vivid color settings because I think it gives me the best looking images and I do not want to manually correct my colors using log. All right, let's go back to the settings and go to the next page, which is photo. In here we can set the photo timer. It's currently set to off, but we can enable it and can dial through all those timer times. We can enable or disabling raw recording, and that's all we can do for photos. And then there will be additional pages for all the other modes, which are pretty much all the same settings as we just went through. But yeah, you can change the settings according to each mode. So you can change the settings for each mode, which means the next time you dial through your modes, you don't have to go into the settings of each mode every time that you change the mode. Of course, the app allows you to dial in all those settings and gives you a nice visual representation, but still, sometimes you just don't want to use your phone to get your camera ready to shoot. Alright, I hope this video helped. In case it did, please let me know in the comment section below. I am Greeny, this is Greenbox. Feel free to click a video on the end card and I will see you in another video, which probably is one of the videos currently on the end screen, because you clicked them, okay? Please. Alright, thanks for watching. Goodbye. See ya.